What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Eagles Stock Watch. I'm your host for the evening, Brian Cameron, co-host of Flipping the Birds, also one of the lead Eagles writers of Philly Sports Network, which is the YouTube channel that we are currently on. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. If video is not your thing, make sure you guys subscribe to PSN Radio on all audio platforms, where you get all the podcasts you love, covering all the teams that you love in Philly, whether it's the Flyers, whether it's the Sixers, whether it's the Eagles. We have everything you need right there live on PSN Radio and live on this channel, Philly Sports Network's YouTube channel. So let's get into it. It was a very interesting Sunday. Let's be honest, not too many people went in Sunday thinking the Eagles would be playing for a tie against the Cincinnati Bengals, against Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals, against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, against a Geno Atkins-less Cincinnati Bengals. But it happened. The Eagles are right now 0-2-1. And while it's the most inconvenient record to have as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, it's our reality. This team looked great on paper, but the fact of the matter is, outside of paper, they're injured, they're hampered, they're old. And when I mean they're old, I'm talking about our wide receivers, which we will address later on. But right now, it's hard to describe the feeling. I mean, you can't shake this, no matter how you look at this. But that's going to be the objective today. The objective today will be optimism, not negativity. So if you're ready, let's dive right into it. Usually we start with who's trending down. We'll focus on the negatives and then possibly get into the positives. This week, I want to focus on the positive. I want to focus on who's trending up. So let's look at the wide receiver position. While there's not too many wide receivers that are trending up or down, not too many wide receivers to begin with, honestly, Greg Ward is finally showing up. And when I mean finally showing up, he's coming out of the ashes of the burial that Howie Roseman laid on top of him with all these additions of speed, of playmaking ability. He's literally like the Undertaker right now, just raising his hand from the grave saying, I'm still here, I'm alive. And to be honest, it's great. It's honestly the best thing that can happen to not only the Philadelphia Eagles offense, but also Carson Wentz. Greg Ward is more than reliable. Greg Ward has the ability to find open spaces in the defense, in the secondary. I mean, he caught 8 passes out of 11 targets for about 70 yards and scored a touchdown. A touchdown with which the play was actually designed earlier in the game, and he still found his way of getting open. He's not dynamic. He's not a speed threat. He's not a deep threat. He is actually the most reliable threat. He's a Julian Edelman of this offense. The problem is the head coach hasn't figured that out. The quarterback is trying to work his way through it. And now going against the 49ers, Greg Ward is going to be more than just called upon. He's going to be relied upon. He's going to have to put his foot down and say, guys, you can trust me. Give me the ball. Let me make the plays. It's phenomenal to see this quarterback and quarterback dynamic. I say quarterback and quarterback because Greg Ward was a former quarterback in college. So that right there tells you he knows how to read a defense. While he knows how to read a defense, he also knows what the quarterback is thinking. He knows Carson's every move before Carson even knows it, which is something that Carson Wentz needs right now. It's something that Carson Wentz has been missing in these receivers. The receivers haven't been getting open. They haven't been creating separation outside of Greg Ward. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, we're back to the practice squad. We're back to the practice squad guys. We're back to the garbage guys. We're not. Greg Ward showed that he belongs at this level. It's just a matter of fact of Doug Pederson scheming for Greg Ward. And hopefully against the San Francisco 49ers, we see it. I mean, so far in his career with the Philadelphia Eagles, Greg Ward has a 71% catch percentage, which is higher than Alshon Jeffrey has in his tenure with the Eagles, which Alshon actually has a 57% catch percentage. So right there it shows you, like, Carson has found his guy. Now it's a matter of just making sure that guy is acclimated and a focal point of this offense going forward. So for this week, Greg, you're trending up. I'm happy to see you. I can't wait to see what you do this season. Let's make it happen. Now, as for another player that's trending up, this one is actually good for the brand. If you actually listen to Flipping the Birds, audio on Tuesday, video on Wednesday, no advertisement, I'm just saying, then you guys know that I'm very big on Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, since the moment he was drafted, was my number one running back heading into the 2019 season, and obviously your number one running back heading to the 2020 season. So congratulations for jumping on the wagon. Now let's focus on this. Miles Sanders, in 2 games already with the Eagles, is averaging 5 yards per carry. He's averaging 95 rushing yards per game. And not only is he doing great running the ball, he's doing great at pass blocking. He's doing great as sliding in as a receiver. You guys all saw him leave that linebacker, in which Wentz actually missed him for the wheel route, which could have possibly been a touchdown. But the fact of the matter is that Miles Sanders is becoming more than just a regular playmaker on this offense. He's becoming the playmaker of this offense, which is something that a lot of us expected going into this season. As the season goes on, we know that Miles is still getting his feet under him. He's still getting his conditioning, his game speed together, which is mind-boggling to think about, because if he's not at game speed right now and he's doing these things, imagine when he's at full speed. Heading into the Sunday night where they face the 49ers, I'm expecting Miles to have the biggest game of the season. The reason being is because, like I said earlier, they don't have wide receivers outside Greg Ward and John Hightower. Dallas Goedert is out, so it's Zach Ertz and possibly Akeem Butler and Richard Rodgers. So expect a lot of 12 personnel, expect a lot of running as well. This has to be a game where the Eagles rely on the rushing attack. They can't afford to stray away from it once again like they did against the Bengals. So for this week, Miles Sanders is trending way, way, way up. Another player that's trending up is the manimal himself, Mr. Malik Jackson. This is actually the first time we really get to see Malik play in the Eagles uniform, and he's looked dominant. He's looked great. Every time you see the play, being ruled dead or a quarterback running, Malik Jackson is the guy after him, which is phenomenal, because heading into last season, there was a lot of talk about how Malik was actually regressing. He was getting old. He wasn't going to be as formidable as we wanted him to be. And we're seeing right now that he's the perfect defensive tackle to line up alongside Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. It just fits, and it's phenomenal to see this guy just continually being aggressive every snap. So far for the season, Malik Jackson has half a sack, he has 2 QB hurries, he has 4 pressures, he has 7 total tackles, and his PFF grade is 75, which is pretty damn good for a 30-year-old defensive tackle that people are ruling up as washed up. So for this week, heading into a game against the 49ers where Jimmy Garoppolo will not be back there, Malik Jackson and the entire defensive tackle group is going to be a focal point for this defense. They got to show up. They got to eat up. And I'm expecting a big game from Malik Jackson, Javon Hargrave, and Fletcher Cox. So for this week, Malik Jackson is trending up very, very quickly. Now let's talk about who's trending down. This is the tough part of the show, because as an Eagles fan, you never want to say this person is holding back the team. This person is struggling. This person is terrible right now. But the fact of the matter is, there's a 3-headed monster by which the Eagles are ran. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, and Doug Pederson. Doug Pederson is the first one on my list that's trending now. The reason being is because if you follow Philly Sports Network, then you must have listened to LJ's last podcast where he's convinced that Doug Pederson has been abducted by aliens, and we're seeing a clone of Doug Pederson. I'm on the same boat. This is not the fearless Doug. This is not Mr. Philly Special Doug. This is not the Super Bowl head coach that went toe-to-toe with Bill Belichick. What happened to him? What could have possibly happened to a fearless coach that entered this offseason giddy and all upbeat to now where he seems lifeless? I mean, Doug Pederson actually settled for a tie. With 20 seconds left, he didn't think about, hey, let's put Jake Elliott, let's just shoot for the field goal. Let's take the swing. If we miss, we miss. He didn't do it. He didn't put his franchise quarterback out there who gets paid to make these plays on 4th and 12. He didn't do it. He didn't put the ball into the hands of the defense either. He didn't trust Jim Schwartz and their scheme. He didn't do it. A very fearful head coach is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing an organization that's full of a lot of fear, and it's hard to see because you expect more. Doug told us to expect a new norm. The new norm right now seems to be built on fear, because that's what we have been seeing from Doug Pederson as of late. Maybe not late last season, but before late last season, we saw that. Now this season, we're seeing it all over again. Doug, you got to get in control. You got to get your head in the game, and you got to show up because I need you to start trending up. So for this week, Doug, you're trending down. Another head of that monster is Howie Roseman. Now, I know what you're thinking. Howie did what he could. He gave us Marquise Goodwin, who opted out, which is completely understandable. There's no disrespect there. I'm a family man, and Marquise, you did the right thing. He gave us Jalen Reagor, which is, I'm expecting big things from Reagor later on in his career. He gave us John Hightower. He gave us Quez Watkins. He also left us with Alshon Jeffrey, a 30-year-old injury-prone receiver. He also left us with Deshaun Jackson, a 32-year-old injury-prone receiver, as the main threats on his offense. Right there, it should trigger you. It should make you feel like you're actually saying something that's legit. Alshon, even with Chicago, was pretty injury-prone. Deshaun has been injury-prone throughout his career. And now you left a franchise quarterback alone on that field to fend for himself and to find his own playmakers. I mean, you already pissed off one of the playmakers. Zach Ertz feels like he's not going to be an Eagle going forward. That's Carson's best friend. You drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the second round in front of DK Metcalf, who's looking like a superstar because you preferred college stats opposed to potential. Now, Carson Wentz is struggling. He's struggling to not only find himself, he's struggling to find a reliable playmaker. He's struggling to build an identity for this offense. So no matter how you put it, whether Howie Roseman got this person, got that guy, it's great. They did great in college. You can't expect rookies to dominate. You can't expect rookies to be superstars. You had a 33% chance of landing a superstar between Reagor, Watkins, and Hightower. We know what we have in Reagor. Hightower's looked a little bit rusty. Watkins we have yet to see because he just got activated from IR. We don't even know if he's playing Sunday night. But the fact of the matter is that you turned down DeAndre Hopkins. Now Arizona has DeAndre Hopkins, and Kyler Murray is pretty much an MVP candidate. You completely failed Carson Wentz at this point in his career. You even drafted a quarterback in the second round. The second round. That's exactly what you did. And it put pressure on your franchise quarterback. So now your franchise quarterback has no room for error. Let's be honest. If he struggles the next 2 or 3 games, he's riding the pine pony. That's just the reality of it. But Howie Roseman has placed his players in this predicament. So for this week and going forward, Howie Roseman is still trending down. Another person that's still trending down, unfortunately, is Carson Wentz. And this one's more of a gut punch for me. Like I said last week, I'm a big fan of Carson. I don't believe in, Carson regression into Blake Bortles. Carson is still Carson. He's still there. The fact of the matter is he's overthinking. Every snap, he's overthinking it. Every snap, he's not trusting the people around him. And you could say, could you blame him? Because like I mentioned before, Howie has failed him. You could say it's really his fault because he seems a bit unprepared for this season. But whatever it is right now, our franchise quarterback is struggling because he's not there. He's everywhere else. Carson Wentz he's bigger than what he thinks he is right now. And that's the truth. Carson Wentz is the biggest thing in Philly. Philly fans live and die by their quarterback. We did it with Donovan. We're doing it with Carson. And the fact of the matter is this. Carson Wentz is a phenomenal talent. When he gets going, he's going to get going. And it will happen. We just don't know when. Because we don't know who's around him. He doesn't even know who's around him consistently. Carson Wentz has no consistency in his offense. He also has no structure, which that falls upon Doug Pederson. There's too much fog around Doug, Howie, and Carson. The fog needs to clear. Doug and Carson need to look at each other and say, hey, we need each other now more than ever. We have to figure this out. We have to structure. We have to script this out. We got to make this work. You don't have the deep threat right now. Let it go. That's perfectly understandable. Until you start seeing what Hightower is doing, because Hightower is a hell of a route runner so far. But until you get your field vision back, rely on the short game. Rely on your running backs. Baby steps. You'll get there soon, but you have to get there little by little. And you got to trust yourself more than you trust anybody else. So unfortunately for this week, Carson Wentz is still trending down. All right, guys. So that'll do it for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this Sunday we see more of what we expected to see entering the season against the 49ers. It's going to be a hell of a matchup between Kyle Shanahan and Doug Pederson. But the focal point is going to be Carson Wentz. Because if Carson Wentz doesn't show up, then it's going to be a bigger issue heading into Week 5 against the Steelers. So for this week, I'm Brian Cameron. This is the Week 4 Stock Watch on Philly Sports Network. Again, it's your first time tuning in, and make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Also, make sure you tune into Flipping the Birds on Tuesday nights on PSN Radio and available on all audio platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon. I even think we're on iHeartRadio. So wherever you like to listen to podcasts, make sure you're tuning in. And until next week, guys, go Birds.